During this video we're going to look at the Nikon D5000. To insert the battery, open the battery door at the bottom. To insert the SD card, open the door and insert with the gold contacts facing the lens as shown. The power button is on the top at the front. Flick it on. When you look through the viewfinder, if the AF points don't look sharp, adjust the slider to the right until you see them clearly. For a lot of situations, the fully automatic mode, symbolised by a green camera icon and the text auto, will be fine. Select this and then look through the viewfinder. Place your finger on the shutter button. The shutter button has two steps. If you hold it down halfway, the focus points in the viewfinder will be highlighted. These indicate what the camera is focusing on. If you're not happy, you can put the camera into manual focus mode using the switch on the side of the lens. Turning the focus ring will then allow us to focus on what we would like to. Pressing the shutter button all the way will release the shutter and take the picture. On the side of the lens there is also a VR button. This stands for vibration reduction. Use this if you're struggling to get a steady shot. There are other automatic modes for specific situations. These are flash off automatic mode, scene mode. This option allows you to cycle through a number of less popular photography types which will pre-select settings to complement the type of photo you're taking. Use a dial to cycle through these options. These are high key, low key, night landscape, party indoor, beach snow, sunset, dusk dawn, pet portrait, candlelight, blossom, autumn colours, food and silhouette. More popular and well-known auto modes are also available via the mode dial. These are portrait mode, landscape mode, child mode, sports mode, close-up mode for macro photography and night portrait mode. In order to take things a step further, we also have manual modes. P is programmed auto, which sets the aperture and shutter speed for optimal exposure, which is useful in situations where you don't have time to adjust the camera settings. S is shutter priority auto mode, which allows users to adjust shutter speed while the camera selects the best aperture. Useful for when you want to blur or freeze the action. A stands for aperture priority, and this mode enables the user to set the aperture manually for creative use of depth of field, while the camera selects the shutter speed. M mode allows a user to set shutter speed and aperture manually. Just hold down the button on the top with the plus and minus icon in order to change the aperture using the dial. In the manual modes we can also change the film speed by pressing the I button and selecting the appropriate speed using the D-pad. We can also adjust the white balance in these modes in order to achieve the right or wrong light source, depending on the results we are hoping for. We also have the ability to change the focus mode by pressing the I button and navigating to the focus mode. Using the D-pad we can navigate to AFA, which stands for Auto Servo AF mode. AF stands for autofocus, and this allows the camera to automatically select single servo autofocus if the subject is stationary, and continuous servo autofocus if the subject is moving. AFS is single servo autofocus. This is designed for stationary objects. The focus will lock when the shutter release is pressed halfway. AFC is continuous servo autofocus, and this is for moving subjects. The camera will focus continually while the shutter button is pressed halfway. MF is manual focus, and this is when you decide to focus yourself using the focus ring. A useful function is the ability to select individual focus points by pressing the I button and navigating to AF area mode. Once we press the I button again, in order to come out of that menu, we can look through the viewfinder, and using the D-pad we can select the different focus points, which will light up as can be seen. The LCD display will also detail this selection. There are 4 different modes: single point, which allows us to select a single focus point, which is useful for stationary objects or shooting many images that are similar, such as school portraits. Dynamic area, which is useful for objects that are moving erratically. It allows us to select a focus point, and then the camera will use information from surrounding focus points in case the object leaves the selected point. Auto area doesn't allow you to select a single focus point. And then there's 3D tracking, which allows the camera to use 3D tracking to select a new focus point and keep that focus point locked on the original subject while the shutter button is pressed halfway. If the subject leaves the viewfinder, we can remove our finger from the shutter button and recompose. In order to take more than one picture at once, we can change the release mode. Press the I button and we can select continuous shooting, which will take pictures continually while the button is pressed, shooting around 4 per second. Self-timer mode, where the camera will take a picture after 10 seconds. There are 2 modes for use with a release trigger, and there is also a quiet shutter mode to keep noise to a minimum while working in quiet environments. Metering mode is a method of measuring brightness. We can adjust this by pressing the I button and selecting the metering icon at the bottom of the list. Matrix produces natural results in most situations by metering a wide area of the frame and setting the exposure according to tone distribution, colour and other parameters. Center-weighted metering is when it meters the entire frame but assigns the greatest weight to the center area. It is very often used for portraits. Spot metering is for a specific part of the subject or scene and meters the current focus point. On the D5000 we can also set the exposure. To do this, press the I button and navigate to the exposure compensation. Use the D-pad to choose the value you require and then press OK. We can do the same with the flash. Other useful functions on the D5000 would include the ability to alter the brightness of the display, which is especially useful on sunny days. Press menu and then move right to the spanner icon. Use the D-pad to select the brightness you require. We can also use the live view button labelled LV to disable the viewfinder in order to use the screen for viewing purposes. If this is too dark or too bright, you will need to adjust camera settings such as aperture, shutter speed and film speed. The display is also manoeuvrable so that it can be adjusted for the best possible shooting angle. In order to play back images, we can press the play button. We can zoom in and out of these and cycle through the pictures. To download your pictures, you can use a USB cable or remove the SD card. Go to this PC, select Nikon D5100, DCIM and 100D5000. Copy and paste the pictures to your desired location. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please subscribe and feel free to like, share, comment and watch my other videos.